It is a beautiful afternoon, and thanks for joining us on our program, Africa Discourse, on independent television. My name is Evan Sunukugia. Today on the show, Africa Discourse, we are going all the way to Senegal, whereby, the way we know in most African countries, every regime has to be for like 4 years, a maximum of 4 years. In a normal, real democratic setting, it has to be for 4 years. But in Senegal, as we speak now, where we have Macky Sall, the president of Senegal, he has decided to shift the election. And if you ask me from when to when, I'll tell you I don't know, because as we speak now, the presidential election has been postponed indefinitely. Well, it would have been on the 25th of this month of February that Senegalese would have gone to the polls to cast their votes for the next president to be, and of course for the next Senate president, and of course their own House of Representatives. But as we speak now, the election has been postponed indefinitely. That's what we're going to be talking about on this show today. Well, as usual, we do have some major headlines, some headlines that we're following at this time on the program Africa Discuss. So we'll just let you see them as the VCR will roll. And the very first headline that we have this afternoon is that Morocco intercepts boats with 141 people as African migrants increasingly attempt to reach Spain. A big headline there on Africa Discuss this afternoon. Morocco intercepts boats with 141 people as African migrants increasingly attempt to reach Spain. And that's headline one. Then for the second headline, we've got Pope prays for peace in Sudan and Mozambique. Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. A big headline there that we also interest you. That's actually a video, so it's a major headline where you can see the Pontiff Pope now prays for peace in Sudan as Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. A big headline on Africa Discourse this afternoon. Well, we also have Africa Union Commission chief urges action on Africa instability. African Union Commission chief urges action on Africa instability. When we talk about Africa's instability now, we're talking about democratic instability, like what is going on in Senegal. As we speak now, a few hours ago, we understand that the protest in Dakar, that's the capital of Senegal, is still very much intense. And what the Senegalese are demanding for is that there should be an election. They are not in tune with Macky Sall. Why should Macky Sall should postpone the election? And postponing the election is not even a problem now, but postponing it indefinitely. And as we speak now, we understand that one major opposition leader, talking about Bissaron, the Maye, has been jailed. And that is some of the reactions that we are getting in Senegal. All right, so for headline two, we've got AU Commission Chief urges action on Africa instability. Then that's for headline three now. Then for headline four, we have supporters of Senegal presidential candidate demand his release from jail. Yes, we're talking about one of the main opposition leaders in Senegal. One of the main opposition candidates in the Senegal election. He's been jailed, he's been imprisoned, he's been incarcerated, and of course supporters in Dakar, as we speak, are calling. There's been mass protests in Dakar for like 2-3 days now, following the postponement of the election in Senegal. Supporters of Senegal presidential candidate demand his release from jail. That's what is going on there. Then for the fifth headline this afternoon, we have brutal donkey skin trade banned by the African Union. Big headline there that we are still following at this time. All right, so you can see the donkeys now, whereby brutal donkey skin trade banned by the African Union. So you can take on any of these headlines so that you read them and you see what is going on so that you can understand the politics on the continent of Africa as we move along. Well, this afternoon we are so privileged to have Nowita Igbotako, a foremost author, and of course a Syria author, and an international conflict resolution expert. When we talk about crisis, political crisis, crisis as relates to stability in nations, we always have Nowita Igbotako, and he will not stop to give us from his very depth, wealth of knowledge as we discuss on this show. Nowichai Butaka, you welcome to this program. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
All right, so as we speak, Nowichai Butaka, Senegal, I don't know, before now, Senegal was acclaimed to be one of the most stable democratic nation. A nation that all this while is being, once a regime ends, of course there's a smooth turning over. But Macky Sall, he has defied that now. And it's so worrisome that he's not even telling Senegalese when the next election is going to be. So what do you think is going on? What do you think he tends to achieve? What does he tend to achieve?
Macky Sall.
Very controversial.
What a name. Macky Sall.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Maradonic ex-president of Nigeria, General Ibrahim Babangida.
Well, that's not his name.
Yeah, but that is what he's doing now in Senegal.
It was just what people said about him then.
In Nigeria, the former president, Babangida was tagged evil genius. Why was he giving that name? I'm going somewhere.
Some people describe him like that, but he wasn't really like that.
What happened? Because the man was shifting the goalpost. The man promised a transition program that became endless. But fortunately, that is what Macky Sall is playing out in Senegal. It's quite unfortunate for a country where you have, we've had so far smooth democratic arrangement since Senegal, the legendary, historical, legendary Senegal, the first president of Senegal, a fantastic freedom fighter, a poet of the highest level, the man that brought independence, the man was the first president of Senegal. So after Senegal, Abdou Diop came, Abdou Wade came. This man, Saleh, is a product of Abdou Wade, the former president. And given how he emerged in Senegal, at the time he fought his mentor, the former president. The first presidential election that took place, there was a tie. In the runoff, that's how he emerged. Macky Sall. Macky Sall was popular in 2012. On April 2nd, when he became president of Senegal. Macky Sall has some visions. I would not say Macky Sall is not a visionary leader, unlike most African leaders.
Yeah, and the nation became...
Yeah, he has some visions.
Yeah.
Because when he came, he tried to put things in order. He came with some programs of developing the country. The country is major export of gold. Then petroleum,
gold, uranium.
So he tried to stabilize, he tried to bring some initiative, he tried to, keep the country going. But trouble started when he started the constitutional amendment. In 2016, he said, he told the country that the country should reverse to 5 years tenure instead of 7-year tenure. And said, then the previous 7 years will not be done. So he started all those manipulations. Then the Constitutional Court said, okay, you will run your presidency. He started the manipulation, the Maradonic, in 2016. The Constitutional Court in Senegal, in his wisdom, told Macky Sall, he said, you run your presidency before the constitutional
before the amendments
will take shape.
Yeah.
And that has been it. But one thing I must give to the people of Senegal, they have not allowed Macky Sall to have his way. They have been on him. Each time we come out with Maradonic agenda, they are with him. And there have been fierce battle on parliament. Fierce, not for me. Senegal, under Macky Sall, is not a one-party state. The opposition is vibrant. The opposition is alive to its responsibilities. If not that, Macky Sall will have had his way so far. Okay. So I'm happy as a person in the conflict arena. I'm happy that the people of Senegal, they are not sleeping. The people of Senegal, they are handling Macky Sall. And the man, you know why he's doing this changing of goalposts, presidential elections? He wants to pick somebody that will succeed in.
And because of his unpopularity too.
Yeah, he cannot even run for this presidency. He said he's not going to run. He has said that. So he's looking at how you arrange the scene so that his preferred presidential candidate can come in. So it's quite unfortunate for Senegal, a country that I said that has enjoyed in African continent. There's no country that has enjoyed relative democratic stability like Senegal. Only for Macky Sall to want to, he's trying to play his own game. He's trying to be used by the Western powers to destroy Senegal. Macky Sall wants to destroy Senegal. Macky Sall is not working alone. I'm speaking from experience, an international conflict resolution expert. Leaders that are behaving like this, they are being tutored from international circuit.
There are interests.
Their interest is there.
Western interests.
Western interests. Leaders that are behaving like this are not alone. They are being teleguided by some superpowers who are interested in the wealth of that country.
Beautiful. Now, before we go further now, Nwita, what do you think is in African politics that we always have our leaders now? You know, I mean, we had this same scenario some time ago, even in Nigeria, whereby we had a former president that when it was time for election, we saw the accusations that came, you know, how the president was being alleged to be sponsoring a third-term bid, even at the National Assembly. So
Obasanjo did that.
So, well, what's the allegation?
Obasanjo did that.
What's the allegation now? But the question I'm asking this afternoon is that what is in African politics, and perhaps the kind of leaders that we have, that when they run their tenure to a completion, they don't want to leave. They want to try to elongate it in one way or the other. What is in African politics?
It's very clear. It's very simple. They be beaten by the bulk of supreme political power. Who could imagine an Olusegun Obasanjo, for instance, in Nigeria, who started a process of tenure elongation, tech 10, giving his background, giving where he was coming from. Somebody that almost died in dungeon during Sani Abacha madness. And Obasanjo wanted tenure elongation. What went into the head of Olusegun Obasanjo? He was beaten by the bug.
Well, let us be careful when we say that.
But that was what happened.
Yeah, but did you know what
happened in the National Assembly?
We saw the National Assembly. You know that
Ghana must go. Given the manipulations.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he didn't get it through. He didn't pass it through.
You ask me what is happening to African leaders.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Macky Sall, unfortunately, as I learned, to be beaten by the bulk of, you know, supreme political power. He is drunk with power, and he's being intoxicated with power. It's unfortunate, so that will not derail. He will not push Senegal into the alley of retrogression. Today Senegal is boiling. The people are hungry. The people have seen him as a Maradonic, somebody that is not sincere with power. I salute the people of Senegal. I give them a thumb, because you don't allow a dictator. A dictator can appear in any level. He's president, democratic president, but Macky Sall is behaving like a dictator. Give it to the constitutional court in Senegal. They have not played to his game. There's element of balance of power in Senegal, unlike other African countries, where the head of state is supreme. The head of state you can manipulate the judiciary. The head of state can manipulate the electoral process. But the people of Senegal, the Senegalese, they've not allowed Macky Sall to have his way. I'm happy about that.
Okay. Now, you also talked about how the opposition leaders, how they are alive in Senegal.
They are alive.
Now, we have the likes of, there's this Sanko. We have Sanko too.
Osman Sanko.
Sanko. Then we also have the Bissoron, the Maye is also a very big, popular, you know, opposition leader there. But as we speak now, the Maye is being incarcerated. So the question is, I think for the Senegalese now, because these two main opposition leaders now, Sanko and Demaye, there seems to be very big heavyweights in Senegal. So I think the Senegalese on their own, they have a major role to play now in standing behind just one main opposition. If they actually wish to unseat Macky Sall and his, his gimmicks. What do you think about that?
For me, as I said earlier, the Senegalese, they have done well. They have done well. The judiciary, the constitutional, formation in Senegal. They've not allowed this man to have his way.
Yeah, but don't you think it's about having his way now? I mean, for a single person to say that he postpones an election.
How can he have his way?
And he's not fixing a date for it now.
How can he have his way when Dakar is burning? He's not having his way. The people are up to the game. Quote me, Macky Sall will not succeed in this process. He cannot succeed. I kudos to the people of Senegal. Kudos to the opposition leaders. Because we have our opposition leaders that are chicken-hearted. We can start countries all over Africa. Opposition leaders are not taking out after small thing, they're chicken out, but they are giving Macky Sall the heat. If Macky Sall is not having the heat, some of the Omaye and the other guy will not be in prison.
And Sanko.
And Sanko, they will not be in prison. So, and the opposition is mobilizing. The population will not want him to have his way. So for me, it's a fantastic development. It's a progressive development. Because a Macky Sall, as I said, is a disappointment. A Macky Sall is being used by invisible powers. I'm speaking from experience. But international politics, nothing goes for nothing. Behind the scene, there are forces that want to derail Senegal. Senegal is not a fantastic, it's not a rich country, but at least there is relative peace and prosperity in that country.
Political peace now.
But what happens? If the everything turns upside down, there will be problems. And the Western powers will come in.
Okay, now let's quickly...
They manipulate the situation. Yeah. So for me, the opposition are trying, the opposition are playing their game, and I commend them. And I advise them to keep up the heat on Macky Sall. Macky Sall should not have his way.
Yeah, when you talk about the heat now, just like what you and I have, seen, I think we should be able to have visuals if we can have that now on this show so that we see what is actually going on in Senegal. Now, as we speak now, there's a wide-mouthed protest in Dakar, the capital of Senegal. People demanding for Macky Sall to tell Senegalese when the next election should be. But Macky Sall has said that the election has been postponed indefinitely. Now, the question we're asking in that line now, if, the reasons that he gave, he's saying that, okay, he really wants the best for Senegal, that he has seen that some of the opposition leaders, gone in for this election, that they are not, they don't really mean well for the average Senegalese and all that. So for him, he wants to bequeath to Senegal a leadership that Senegal will live to enjoy. In his words now, a leadership that Senegal as a nation, will live to enjoy. So the big question is, the way he's going about it now, don't you think the military may just take over Senegal if care is not taken? I mean, especially in the advent of military junta very recently in some African
countries. In Burkina Faso.
Niger and next door neighbor. Yeah, so don't you see the military?
I just said that, not quite long, that I'm afraid that Senegal, Macky Sall, by his actions, will not push Senegal into a military rule. And as I said, in international circles, international politics, we have international manipulators. There are powers that manipulate international scene, international politics, in conflict resolution. They bring their cards on the table. Probably they have been looking at how to enter Senegal. The other day I was on this program. I said some leaders, they do their countries deliberately after being manipulated by external powers. My fear is that the enemies of Senegal will not have their way. Because if the protest goes on ding dong, the military can just blow
And take over.
and take over. Before you know it, Senegal, the excellence,
The peace.
democratic excellence,
And the peace.
peace, tranquility that Senegal has enjoyed since 1960s, when Leopold Senghor, the poet president, legendary president, one of the greatest leaders in Africa, Leopold Senghor, the legacy set up by such a character will now be messed up by a Macky Sall, by his inordinate ambitions. I fear a military takeover. But the people of Senegal, from what they are displayed, I don't see how the military takeover will even survive. If one guy does shoot his way somewhere,
You mean, even with the external support?
I'm coming.
I mean, because I think we should be able to look at it from the premise that some of the nations that military has made incursions now, I mean, they've succeeded. Niger, they still have the military rule there. And of course, we have the likes of DRC, they still have the military rule there. All this with the support. So you mean that if military comes into Senegal with the external support, that they won't succeed?
What could happen if a junta appear in Dakar and the junta has a missionary program? A missionary program, such we have seen in Mali, we have seen in Burkina Faso, we have seen elsewhere. The people may welcome them. But if one guy that doesn't have mission, step in, I don't see Senegalese swallowing hook, line, and sinker such a junta. But as I said, what is playing out in Senegal, I see a conspiracy, I see a script being played out.
Now, what do you think the Senegalese...
Macky Sall.
Yeah, the Senegalese
Macky Sall wanted to put a puppet. Macky Sall has seen Osman Sonko and the other guy as people
at stretch.
If they come to presidential palace, it's very clear. He is president, they have security report, they have dossier on these people, and they know what they can do. That's the part. Should we talk about Nigeria? What happened? When a Peter Obi could not get it, we know what happened. So it's the manipulations in Senegal. So, but the way the Ghanaian opposition are pushing, I see a Macky Sall rescinding his decision. Not any time from now. Because the pressure becomes too much. I see, because his tenure expires on April 2nd now.
Yeah.
Macky Sall, his 2-term tenure expires April 2nd.
Yeah.
April 2nd.
Yeah.
So, and he is close. So I see him doing something, and if Macky Sall refuses to do the needful, positively, I see a situation whereby the script being written for him will now manifest.
Okay, now let's
this
talk about
script
that.
is the military takeover.
Yes,
this script, I'm saying, international manipulators taking over Senegal.
Okay, before we quickly before we look at his government now, let's talk about the military takeover and of course the interest that you talked about, because a lot of persons are even confused. Who is really fueling these ambers of
Macky Sall is not acting alone.
You said that a while
That's
ago.
the fact.
Macky Sall is not working alone. Now, some persons point accusing fingers to Russia, through the Wagner Group and all that. While some say that no, it is the United Nations. Of course, when we talk about the United Nations, we're talking about the White House, the United States, and all that. Now, so from your own point of view, from your understanding of what you think is going on in Senegal, which of these interests you think has an eye in Senegalese politics, in Senegal as a nation?
France is there.
Okay.
France has been a big brother.
Russia is there, and maybe China is there. The U.S. is there through the United Nations and all that. So which of them now?
You see, or here, we cannot really point fingers directly that this is the country manipulating the process. But given historical antecedent, France is a big brother. France is a factor. France still want to control the fortune.
Maybe given
the fortune of Senegal.
Yeah, given the colonial.
Yeah, Senegal got the president
from France.
From France.
Yeah.
So France is a factor in the whole manipulations, and you agree with me,
okay,
that United States has been there as a big superpower in global politics.
Senegal, one nation in Africa, and looking at their presidential election that ought to be on the 25th of this month of February 2024. But as we speak now, the election has been postponed. And you know that Macky Sall is the president there. And by April 2nd of this year, he would have completed his tenure as the president of the country. But as we speak now, he has postponed the election, and that is generating reactions and counter-reactions. As we speak now, there's a wild, mad protest in Dakar, the capital of Senegal, because of the postponement of the election. And some of the reactions we are getting from Dakar is that a lot of supporters are being, chased here and there by the military in Dakar, in Senegal, simply because they are in support of one of the candidates now, talking about one of the opposition candidates, in the person of Bissoron Demaye. And as we speak now, we also understand that he's been incarcerated about 24 hours ago. So that is also eliciting reaction and counter-reactions from Senegalese. All right, so Nowita Butako, let us look at the interest that we were trying to talk about now, because as it stands now, it appears that there are four major interests that may be responsible for what is going on in Senegal. You have the U.S. is there.
The French connection.
We have France is there. We have
the Moscow.
We have Russia through the Wagner group and all that. Then, of course, we have the Chinese. The Chinese the interest is also another strong one there. But the one that we can readily pinpoint our hand now is France. As a colonial master and all that. But from your point of view now, why do you think at this time of the nations, what they have achieved democratically and all that, why do you think this interest may want to come into Senegal at this time?
Because Macky Sall wanted to continue in office. It is not playing out. He's been challenged left, right, and center. He started with constitutional arrangement in 2016, and the Constitutional Court told him, you have to finish your tenure. The protocol for another 5 years.
The tenure.
He was planning those things.
First tenure first.
Macky Sall was planning those things so that he could have tenure elongation. But this is not playing out. And you will agree with me, but all this while, Macky Sall is in power. He's being supported by France. Because most of these Francophone countries, they are being protected militarily by France. They have their military missions everywhere in their countries. I'm sure some military mission is in Senegal.
Of course, as a colonial...
So now, Macky Sall has succeeded so far because he has been having the backing of France. And he has been the one pushing him, how to manipulate his way. But it is not working. So the problem now is that the manipulators, the script they've written, from Paris to Dakar to Macky Sall, is not working. They have not seen a leader, opposition leader they could manipulate. They could not manipulate Ousmane Sonko and the other guy who is in prison. As I said, as president, they have dossiers. They have intelligence reports. It happens at that level. They know who is who. They know who can play our game. They know who cannot play our game. So even Macky Sall, for me, Macky Sall and his supporters, they are confused.
So the best thing for them is to postpone the election?
To postpone the election. That was playing out. How many days Some few days he said there will be an election. He said there was no election before. He now said there will be an election. Now he has suddenly done something indefinite. So Macky Sall and his kitchen cabinet, they are confused. And the way they are confused, Washington is watching. Moscow is watching. Benji is working. These are international
interest,
manipulators of the international scene. They are looking for a way to come in. So the way things are, Macky Sall may just lose all. France that is supporting all this along may just lose out. Lose out in the sense that a military, some rugged boys could just shoot their way into Presidential Palace in Dhaka. The way we are seeing the thing. And anybody that is going to shoot his way into power, we have the support of Moscow, we have the support of Benji. When I say Benji, I mean China. That is the way. And Washington want to play a role. And in all of this, unfortunately for Africa, so unfortunate for Africa, it is the people of Senegal that will suffer. This is a country that has enjoyed tranquility, democratic tranquility since 1960. But Macky Sall has chosen to play a script of colonial masters, to play a script to destroy his country, to torpedo the fortune of Senegal. Is unfortunate because of parochial interest. Are you telling me Macky Sall is interested in the prosperity of Senegalese? No.
Senegalese.
It's parochial interest, self-preservation, and it's not working. That's why the thing is slipping out of his hands.
Okay. Now let us
my fear is that Senegal may just slip into anarchy, into chaos, and the people from Moscow, the people from Beijing will just come in, and then will that be probability whether the military junta will work on behalf of the people, will not be another segment of managing crisis.
Okay. Now let's look at one or two comments now. Now we got this. I got this from a social media platform a while ago from Dakar, a Senegalese now. You know, he's trying to react to the situation. Now he has said that Macky Sall knows that his interest will not, come to fusion. In other words, his interest may not stand. That he has only postponed the election to kind of disorganize the other opposition interest in Senegal. I don't know how you may want to react to this now.
That's what I've just said. The script, this don't just happen. Thank God for international politics.
You know, this thing is probably not only happening. It is like what I
said. Even in Nigeria.
It happened in Nigeria some few years ago. I mean, it has always happened in Nigeria.
The other day,
election is
the other day, Jonathan told the whole world, Google Jonathan, that it was Washington that played a heavy way to oust him from office. He lost favor from Washington. Google Jonathan. So in Africa,
we cannot.
Jonathan is not the media.
I know, but let's give him the benefit.
I'm an expert in my field.
I mean, he's not here to deny that whether he actually said it or not.
It's a popular.
But we'll take that as an allegation.
What I'm saying is that things don't just happen in African politics. Those are these local parlance that say somebody cry for nights, something speaking die in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is manipulated in international politics. Nothing is given to chance. Everything is planned. Everything is organized. Everything is scripted. Now the script waiting for Macky Sall has failed. It's failing. Because Macky Sall has not been able to produce somebody that will succeed in. So they want to scatter the thing before they will now arrange themselves.
Now, African leaders, are they aware? Because when you take a look at the international, political scene, you see one thing that seems to be very, very lacking in Africa, most especially in our politics. This seeming loss of control in our politics. I mean, it is only in Africa that you have a continent whereby there are vested interests externally trying to control the politics of the continent. Now, African leaders, are we aware that they are really not in control of the politics in Africa? Are they aware?
They are aware. For instance, let's go to Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah, Ali Salessi, Ahmed Sekotore, Jamal Abdel Nasser Fiji, those leaders, they knew of Western imperialism. They did not allow their countries to be used. Sekotore, for instance, died. President Sekotore in Guinea had to die before the coup, before Guinea collapsed into military rule. Sekotore was able to hold Guinea. Go and read the thing. Ahmed Sekotore, very strong. Nkrumah was strong. But Nkrumah made a mistake. Nkrumah was no longer popular at home. That's why they succeeded in removing Nkrumah. After Nkrumah, what happened to Ghana? Have you forgotten?
Yeah, but the likes of Jerry Rawlings.
Do you know what happened before Rawlings came on board? You know how many useless, missionless leaders, military leaders that came? Afrifa, Achimpong, name them.
Yeah, but the likes of Jerry Rawlings came and they revamped the nation.
Because Rawlings was a missionary leader. You know, it takes in a country. Sometimes it takes some leaders who want to do something.
Okay, so what do you think is happening to the present African leaders now? Why are they not learning from
their people?
Nkrumah?
See, most African leaders are not themselves. They are weak. Weak. Because even the military arrangement they have is
toothless.
It's been kitted. Let me use the word kitted. For instance, in Senegal, from France, you have technical assistance, you have military assistance from Paris.
Yet it's a sovereign nation.
This is a country that will say they are feeble. A leader that wants to rule. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. Quickly, I want to go to Burkina Faso. Look at what is happening in Mali, in Niger. They have the leader that came on board there now, they are saying no to imperialism. Look at what is happening in Rwanda, for instance. After all the genocide, after all the horrors. So it takes a leader that has mission. It takes a leader that wants to take his country for the dungeon of development and squalor to survive. And so that will befriend the people of that country. Macky Sall is not in front of the Senegalese. He's far from Senegalese people. Macky Sall is being used by Western interests to destroy that country. That is what I see.
Now,
they want to swoop on Senegal.
There are the two major opposition we have in Senegal. We talked about Sanko. We talked about the Maye. Now, do you see them as those people that can also come into the Senegalese politics and rewrite the wrongs of Macky Sall? Remember how Macky Sall came in? Macky Sall was
quite popular.
Very popular. I mean, as a matter of fact, he unseats his former leader.
His former mentor,
in that election, and he won. Now, the question we're asking here, because it's very easy for us to have opposition that are popular and all that. The question we're asking is, these oppositions now, do you see them as people, when you give them the opportunity to come into power, can they really rewrite the wrongs of former presidents or former heads, as it were?
That is what I cannot say. I cannot say that, Evans, because we've had a tradition of African leaders who were once opposition leaders.
And they come into power and they mess up.
In Cameroon, Paul was an opposition leader. You will not believe it.
Yeah.
Paul fought Amadou Ahido, the first president of Cameroon, independent president of Cameroon.
Even Bazoum in Niger, he was an opposition leader. He came into power and...
So one cannot vouch at this level that Osman Sonko, another guy.
And Dimaye.
Yeah. They come to power, they will do the needful. One cannot say until they step in. That's the funny thing. Because African leaders, they will be opposition, they will be shouting stridently. The incumbent has lost touch with reality. The incumbent has done this, but when they step in, they start doing something different.
So you may want to narrow it down to Nigeria. You think the kind of some opposition leaders that we've had in our elections in Nigeria, if you probably give them the opportunity, that they would not have done anything different? Is that what you're saying? Maybe the likes of Peter Obi.
For me, Peter Obi, for instance, see as the good way of Nigerian people.
No, we're not talking about the goodwill. They will always let you know that the goodwill.
But
we're talking about governance.
But given where Peter Obi is coming from.
The opposition leaders.
I am in the civil society.
No, the opposition leaders, they are always from a background that you would never believe that people from that background. You talked about, I talked about Bazoum in Niger. You've talked about Sanko in Senegal.
Yeah.
Dimaye in Senegal. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, these were topmost opposition leaders, civil rights activists and all that. We are talking about, civil rights activism is not governance. So the question is, why is it that when you give these opposition leaders, I mean, we also talked about, what was his name, Macky Sall.
Macky Sall.
Macky Sall was popular. Was an activist.
Macky Sall.
Civil rights activist.
Macky Sall Macky Sall overthrew his godfather.
His godfather. He was an activist. He was a human rights activist.
Yeah.
People saw in him that, okay, this is the person that we need. And this is the
as I said,
talking about today.
as we started this program, the bug of intoxicative supreme political power, once they bite, the leader becomes somebody else.
That's the problem with...
That is the problem with Africans and Africans. When anybody believed that Obasanjo could do what he did in third term, between me and you, there will be Senegalese...
Let us not focus on Obasanjo now.
No, I'm not Obasanjo.
Yeah.
Between me and you, there will be Senegalese today who will be thinking in their closets or even in beer parlors. That it is not Macky Sall.
This same Macky Sall.
Is it not Macky Sall that we brought to power to 2012 that came in April 2nd, 2012? They will discuss in their beer parlors. They discuss in their closet. I think there's a madness that has to do with supreme political power. There's a lunacy. There's a virus.
So how do we cure? That's the question now, because African politics is riddled with so many unfortunate situations, political unfortunate situations. So how do we begin to cure this unfortunate?
I think that's a divine thing. That's a divine thing in this process. We talk about Ghana just now. After Nkrumah was brought down, humiliated, Western conspiracy. We saw what happened in Ghana before Rawlings appeared from nowhere. And Rawlings made a statement. For me, Rawlings is one of the best presidents that has come out of Ghana.
At least he sets the
democratic process.
On which Ghana is on today.
So, and that is it. So, African leaders, it takes the grace of God for God to allow a Messiah to appear on the scene. Like some messiahs have appeared in Mali, my brother. They've appeared in Burkina Faso. They've appeared in this country here, in Niger.
What about in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, a messiah has not appeared. A people's...
Even in the last election, the candidates, we didn't have them as a candidate.
In Nigeria, for instance, the messiah that Nigerians look up to, in Peter Obi, the power that be, the conservative forces, in league with international conspirators. Now, what are people talking about what happened to the presidential elections? I'm going somewhere.
Was never given the opportunity, so let us be mindful, because we are looking at a situation. Remember where we are coming from. Now, we are coming from a Macky Sall. The way you are talking about Peter Obi now, that was how people talked about Macky Sall. Now, Macky Sall, people probably saw him the way they are saying Peter Obi, and he was given the opportunity. So we cannot say Peter Obi now, because Peter Obi was not given the opportunity. So let us be mindful with the way we talk.
The point I'm trying to make is that people saw in Peter Obi a messiah in the just concluded presidential election in Nigeria.
Yeah, but it was not the opportunity. Wasn't there to actually say that he's a messiah. So that's what we're saying.
A messiah on transit. On transit. So
how do we know that this messiah is the messiah, not the one that should we keep on trying?
So in Nigerian situation,
even in African situation,
if you ask me what I would recommend, giving the realistic situation of people who at a point were darlings of the masses. At the other point, they became an enemy of the people. What do we do? I think that's where we should go.
Yeah.
Where do we go?
That's the question. What do we do?
What do we do? I think we need a vanguard movement. A vanguard movement of nationalists who will sponsor a nationalist, who will go through the electoral process, who will bring their money. Because dollar for dollar,
Yeah.
naira for dollar,
Yeah.
currency for currency. Because in the general situation, for instance, the conservatives are entrenched. We need a vanguard movement in Nigeria. We need a vanguard movement in most of African countries that will free the system from the yoke of maladministration.
Okay, so as we draw the conclusion on today's discussion now, so what is your message for the Senegalese? Because protests here and there on the streets of Dakar, the election has been postponed. Nobody knows when the election is going to be. But of course, we know that Macky Sall knows that he cannot be in office more than on the 2nd of April.
No, it's a
I mean,
gunner.
if he does that,
It's a
he's
gunner.
going to be running ultra via the constitution.
ultra vires,
Except maybe if he gets some form of constitutional amendments to elongate his tenure and all that. So we do not know what will happen between now and on the 2nd of April. Now, outside that now, what is your message to the people? I mean, to Senegalese, and perhaps some Senegalese are in Nigeria. We also have them here in Nigeria. So what's the message?
My message to Senegalese, they should dig in. They should not relent. They should chase Macky Sall and his supporters.
Why don't you say they should chase bad governance? Bad governance.
But we're talking about Macky Sall.
I mean, Macky Sall is just an individual. So
He's the arrowhead. He's the supreme manipulator of the process.
yeah. So let us say they should chase bad governments.
Bad governance in Senegal.
And perhaps in Africa.
And they should remember, even as they pitched tent with Osman Sonko and the other guy,
Dimaye.
they should think of organizing a vanguard movement. That is the way to go. That will penetrate the electoral system, so that they can have leaders who will answer their names.
Okay. All right. So I want to say thank you today. Talking about Nowita Egbotako, a Syria author, and of course a resolution expert, international conflict resolution expert. It's always exciting to
Thank
have
you. It's
you
a
on
pleasure.
board. Thank you so much for finding time to come on the show. All right, so this is where we'll draw the curtain today on the program Africa This Course. So we just hope and pray that for the Senegalese that are protesting on the streets of Dakar, that they should please don't tear the nation apart. So Macky Sall, please try as much as possible to ensure that the election we hold, because you cannot be in office more than on the 2nd of April 2024. If you do that, you're going to be running ultra via the constitution in Senegal, except if you get some form of constitutional amendment. That's the only way that you can stay beyond that time. All right, so until the same time next week on the show, my name is Evan Sunokogi. Good afternoon, thanks for watching.